ear infections.
Yep.
We'll start with you, Christa.
Yeah.
As a clinical nutritionist, my co-host, you're always on TV all over the place. You have books, right, in bookstores. What do you do when somebody comes in for earaches, and is there anything you can do?
Well, of course, there's a lot that you can do. But if someone comes to me as a nutritionist,
Kids.
I'm going to work with them on their entire lifestyle. If you come to me acutely as a child, you have an ear infection, I'm going to start working with the bacteria. Likely it's bacterial. So we're going to start giving them fermented foods. We're going to start having them maybe gargle using probiotics, maybe doing some clearing of the sinuses. And then really getting foods in their diet, whether it be oregano, whether it be garlic, things that
These
are
are
going to
things
really
that
work.
kill this bacteria?
That can help to kill the bacteria, but at the same time, the same thing when you want to detox and cleanse, you also have to build the immune system. So then we're going to add things in like medicinal mushrooms that boost your natural killer cells by 300% after you eat them. So you help your body get rid of the infection, you educate the immune system, so now it's stronger to be able to get rid of it. But really, I send them in an acute situation, child, I send them to Willow so she can take care of it with homeopathy.
So if somebody has a child that has a lot of ear infections.
Yeah, so chronic ear infections are different than just getting an ear infection. If someone comes and they just have an ear infection, I have a protocol. In fact, it's in the ebook that I think there's going to be a link. And I have a whole protocol of what to do if your child looks like they have an ear infection or has been diagnosed with one and you want to avoid the antibiotics. If it's chronic ear infections, then I'm going to take a constitutional intake and we're going to find that remedy that's going to strengthen the entire system.
And for a working definition here, when you say constitutional, that means you're going to look at the whole picture.
The whole picture.
Their history,
not just what's happening
trying to
right
find
then.
as a detective the underlying cause.
Right.
Okay, so when you say constitutional.
So constitutional is a much more thorough intake. Yeah, I'll even look at the mother's pregnancy and her birth and all of the details surrounded with that. So when a child gets on the constitutional remedy, that's when I see all of the frequency and intensity of their illnesses gone because that sensitivity
So is it nutrition? Is it supplements?
All of it,
is it
but
both?
It's a homeopathic remedy. And I also advise for diet as well because you can't do one and not do the other because then I almost look at it as an environmental factor. You can't sit there and say I have allergies and live in a house of mold and not ever get rid of the mold.
Right.
So if you're going to sit there and have that type of diet, then that's an environmental factor. You can only do so much until you get rid of those things. So I had this one young boy, he was in preschool. They live here in San Diego and he was missing a lot of not only preschool but of time with his family and play because he was getting 3 to 4 ear infections within 4 to 5 weeks. They were on antibiotics after antibiotics and he was still getting them. So the mom, frustrated, how am I going to continue with work? I've got preschool he's got to go to. Now he's home, worried because he's not ever getting better. It just keeps happening one after the other. So they come and see me and I give them the protocol. He gets a homeopathic remedy and since he hasn't had any ear infections, if he had a mild amount of an earache, gone within an hour. And he's no longer suffering and he's able to go to school. The family is healthier and he is now going to have a healthier system because homeopathy supports the immune system. It doesn't mask it. It doesn't suppress it.
Okay.
One of the hugest benefits here to me is now this child does not have to consistently assault his system, his immune system, with antibiotics because we have studied time and time again the long-term damage of the overuse of antibiotics where not only does it kill your good gut bacteria, it starts to thin the lining of the intestine. This is where food sensitivities come into play. This is where pain and autoimmune conditions come into play. So by stopping this cascade, you're now basically saving this child's life or at least changing the entire trajectory of his health.
And it could have been a snowball. You know, I know a few things about this antibiotics that I've learned a lot from you and interviewing medical doctors, but I think parents need to know that what happens is you give this kid, because he gets his ear infections 3 times a year, 3 sets of antibiotics, it's thinning the lining of his stomach and killing some of the good stuff in there.
The lining of his small intestine.
And then what happens at 12 years old, and at 15 years old, and then as an adult, you know, with heartburn and a lot of other issues. So if you could, like, and you talk a lot about this on our past shows, that that's what happened to you. You had something that they were given a lot of antibiotics, and you've had to heal yourself from that.
Very similar stories.
So before they go on antibiotics is ideally when you want to get
Ideally, come and see me before you get the antibiotics, before they take them, and let's get rid of it so you don't have to take them. Because really, ear infections, ask any doctor, they'll go away on their own as well. You just want to make sure they're not getting so far an eardrum blown, anything else. And homeopathy will stave off the antibiotics. And if they've already been on them, that's fine. Let's start from where we're at. and we'll get them off of the antibiotics and decrease the frequency and intensity of all those future infections.